You are listening to the Techie Leadership Show with Bogdan and Andrei. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Techie Leadership Show. Today with us we have Christian Gotz. He's the co-founder and CEO at HiveMQ. HiveMQ is helping enterprises like BMW, Liberty Global, Audi, Deutsche Telekom to move data from connected Internet of Things devices effortlessly to the cloud. Christian has been involved in enterprise software development since 2008 and in the Internet of Things since 2011. He has built HiveMQ from the ground towards a seven-figure revenue business employing 32 people without external funding. Christian has spoken at numerous industry conferences and written articles about Internet of Things architecture. When he isn't working on growing HiveMQ, he enjoys reading, running, and spending time in nature. Hello, Christian, and welcome to the show.
Hey,
Hey guys, happy to be here.
our pleasure.
Likewise. Would you like to add a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my business journey has really been very interesting. We started building software basically my entire professional career. I built software starting out from university. So we founded DC Square, the original company, while still being at the university, and then started building on it, and then came HiveMQ out of it, which we're kind of working on the last 5-6 years now. And currently is one of the leading technologies to help customers to connect their IT devices, which is awesome. And yeah, really, for myself, I always have been kind of an avid reader, reading a lot of stuff, learning along the way, teaching a lot of things I have learned along the way, and happy to share some of these kind of lessons I learned today, and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, we're really interested on the leadership side of building tech companies and what it means in leading technical people.
Oh, yeah.
So let's take it from the top. What is the biggest leadership success story you witnessed personally?
Yeah, so this is a hard one. So I had to think a lot about this. Especially, I think if I will remove the personal witness, I'm personally very inspired by what currently Elon Musk is doing with Tesla and SpaceX. I think this is great leadership style he's showing there, really inspiring people, engineers, whatever, to work on a mission to go to Mars and so on. I think this is an example that first came to mind. But on a more kind of personal level, or what I directly experienced, I think is what we are seeing now also inside HiveMQ. I think it really is interesting, because when we started out, let's say 6, 7, 8 years ago, Internet of Things was not really a topic. It was just starting out, and I think we kind of now gathered around 30, 32 people that kind of want to work with us and help us to kind of grow the company. And my co-founder and me, Dominic, we're very passionate about this, and I think it's really interesting to see over time we have attracted a lot of good people of talent. We have also our kind of content we put out on our thought leadership content. People have kind of consumed a lot, and we're getting a lot of, let's say, inbound marketing traffic, which we have never kind of thought before that this would happen. We just wrote content, and people are kind of inspired and kind of saying, hey, wow, this is what we need. And for us, it was really a surprise to see, just when you have a passion, just go out with it, and then people just come and follow you and say, hey, we want to learn more. It was really awesome to kind of see what came out of this. And this is kind of the most personal story I could think of, because I kind of spent my entire professional career, the last 8 years, building kind of this business. And it was really interesting to see how we started out as a 3-man show, and now have kind of 30 people. And just people are always, when we hire for new positions, people are really also passionate. They want to join our team to kind of make this world a better place. And this is, I think, is great to see. And I really like I could have never imagined this at the beginning. Of course, we always had big visions and big dreams, but just seeing how all unfolded was really, really cool to see.
And how has passion impacted your leadership style? Did it make it better? Did it create problems being passionate sometimes?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting question. I think it's both. So especially for starting a business, passion is a must-have. If you don't have passion, I think it won't last for long. To kind of overcome the long hours, to overcome some setbacks and so on. I think passion is so important. But I think as much as the company grows, passion or emotional attachment to something can also hinder kind of the growth of the company. So it's kind of detaching a little bit. Of course, passion I think is always there, but just being a little bit more detached from things and let also the people you hire kind of do their best and do their job I think is very important. Because they also have passion. They also bring in their own kind of new way of maybe doing things, and just letting them do it and letting them do it their way kind of is very important, I think. And it has been a learning experience for me as well, because as a kind of a founder, you have at the beginning you have to do everything by yourself, but on and on you hire people that can do things better than myself or my co-founder self. So, and this is an interesting kind of transformation I really struggled with, but I think nowadays it's working quite well. We have a good team and good people on board.
It's hard. It's hard. It's like you have your baby and you love him to death like your business, and then you bring other people and say they also want to adopt the baby and basically become its parents, and it's hard.
Parents, yes.
It can be hard.
Yeah, but I think it's the only way to grow, and I think this is always so. What my passion or what my ambition is to really build a bigger business out of it as we are now, and I think the only way to get there is kind of to let other people come in and help us out. So it's not something I can just do on my own. I think this is something I knew from the beginning. Yes, you're right. So always at this point you have to kind of let go of things, but otherwise stuff is not moving forward. And this is, I think, important to always kind of keep going in the next steps. And especially I think learning as not only learning how to kind of to grow the team, but also to grow personally. I think one of the biggest things is to grow as a professional, as a like personal development. I think is one of the key leadership skills each leader should have. Otherwise, I think it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And do you consider like personal development as a way to basically rein in a little your passion and direct it so it's actually beneficial for the business?
Yeah, totally. I think it's a lot of about mindset. It's about how to handle new situations, how to think bigger, to build new models of the business, of the world, on how to kind of make building the next, for example, management level inside the company, letting go of things I was attached to, letting go of beliefs, of things I had towards employees, leadership, towards any kind of topic that comes up. Basically, the ability also to reflect about my own behavior, about the company as a whole, and then just always keep growing that.
If you had to go back 6 years and speak to you before you started the company, could you convince yourself about what is necessary? Would you actually believe the things that you would need to change about yourself, about your perspective, how you deal with people, how you interact, how you work?
So how do you mean that? If I can convince myself, do you mean if I would do it again, or do you mean like?
No, if you like go back in time and you have to do a presentation to your old self,
okay, yeah.
that just started the company.
This is what's going to happen.
And tell him this is what's going to happen. This is how you're going to change. Would he believe you, or would he say, this guy's crazy, man? He's talking crazy.
You might say I'm talking crazy.
Yeah.
That's good. That means you grew a lot. You changed a lot. That's good.
Yeah, so I think starting out, I think having 10 people was a big stretch when we started out, and now having 30 people, I think we could never build. Of course, we imagined being this, but actually making it real is a different story. And I think now this kind of also helped me learning to get to the next step. Is always seeing if you can do more, and the next step is possible when you just want it, have the right tools, the right also mentors, of course, and also kind of are willing to reflect on yourself. I think this is the key things.
Yeah.
I must say, I don't know what's with IoT, but there's lots of people with passion because we had Sergio recently on our show, and he's also from IT and he's in Italy, and he was so passionate about IoT. He came on the show despite the fact that his English isn't the most stellar, but because of his passion, of his desire to get his message out, he came on the show, and we had like an amazing
episode.
Amazing episode with Sergio. And I see, like in IoT, I think there's a lot of passionate people, it seems.
Yeah.
I think it's a future technology which can kind of helping basically any industry. So what we see, so we started out as kind of doing a lot of, let's say, as I said, about technical content marketing. This is how we got a lot of over the last 5 years. We got kind of inbound requests from all kind of industries. It's really interesting to see where we are not, let's say, a vertical focused company. So we help kind of any, or of course we focus on verticals for going forward, but we could in the future add a lot of more verticals. And it's just so interesting to see what people are trying to build out there. It's really cool stuff what IoT and these technologies kind of enable people to do and to make things better.
Yeah.
In a way, it is the future because you want your physical devices to be interconnected and, if possible, have the same interface or have like a remote control for the whole house and everything, all the devices that you have, basically.
And it all started with the telephone. First universally internet connected device.
Yeah, what's really interesting is about IoT in the last couple of years, it's changing a lot. So the consumer base, everybody knows about the IoT stuff, maybe the connected toothbrush or smart home and so on. But actually let's say the enterprise part is growing a lot faster now. So let's say industrial IoT, all these kind of business applications, they grow rapidly. I think they grew 6 times more than, they grew 6 times in the last 6 years. And consumer-based IoT only grew 2 times of the.
Oh.
So this is like the enterprise stuff is really kind of catching up because consumer IoT has been bigger until now, but enterprise has now catched up. I think they will rapidly go increase and go far wider or far bigger than everything else. So I think that the hidden value is kind of not in the shiny objects, but in the kind of boring IoT applications,
in boring industries.
Yeah, well, it makes sense that the money-making industries would be willing to foot the bill for advancing technologies. Because if you think about it, if you can do a remote diagnosis on your factory before you have to call in the very expensive engineer to fly in for 2 days and pay him.
If the expensive engineer can do it from his home,
yeah,
he will be way happier.
Faster, cheaper, happier.
Yeah,
hopefully not necessarily cheaper, but just you cut the cost of having downtimes and having the person coming and wasting time. He can work on several plans then.
Rather than taking up 4 days of his time, you only have to pay for 1 day, the actual day of labor.
Yeah, definitely. So,
and now that we touched on that one, on the flip side, what is the biggest leadership failure that you had the experience of witnessing?
Yeah, so this was not so hard to think about.
It's hard to pick amongst them usually.
Yeah, so this is an example not from our company, but I work with a lot of, let's say, medium and big enterprises. And I think one of the bigger things I've experienced is when a leader is absent. So if you see we're working with people and there is no real leader leading them or kind of giving the way forward, it's really hard then to work with them because there is no common North Star, there is no common alignment. And it's really hard to get things moving forward if they don't have somebody to kind of show them the way. You're just talking to different people, but they don't have a common goal or something, which I found very hard to kind of work with. I am a person who likes to have a clear goal, a clear next steps on how to what to work towards, clear output, clear things in mind. But if the other side or the other people you're working with, they just are running around as busy chickens, and nobody like has this kind of
Yes.
they want to move forward. It's kind of, it's hard to go forward for me personally, especially, but I think also in general. I think it's, if a leader is absent and nobody's like giving a clear direction to people in, say, that work together, I think it's really hard to make make progress on things.
Yeah, well, it's hard to communicate with another organization if it doesn't have an interface. And usually that's what the leader is. It's like the public interface of the organization. You have to go through the leader to reach any and all personnel that's necessary for whatever services you need.
But what I find it interesting from what Christian is saying is that the businesses, they're still going.
Yeah.
So you don't need leadership to maintain the status quo, because people are used, like what I have to do on a daily basis to keep things going. But if you want growth, if you want change, or anything that implies some stretching, you need leadership, because it doesn't happen without a leader present somewhere.
Yeah. This kind of creates a lot of, let's say, wasted time, a lot of effort without any kind of real outcome. So I think this is really hurting everybody involved. I think this is the problem.
Well, you have to look at it at the bright side. The only time wasted was your time. The other leader didn't waste any time. he wasn't there.
And he also got really good at politicking.
Oh yeah.
But also, I think his people might be wasting a bit of time. But yeah, I think it's always. I think it depends on how you look at it. But in general, I think it's not. I think we and the other organization, we have common goals. So it's we want to reach, but it's not kind of getting as easy.
That makes it harder. Instead of making it easier and have them get the fruits of what you're proposing, and you also create like a beneficial circumstances, like they're going to be later on say like, why didn't we do this like 1 year before this?
Yeah.
Say, what can you say to that? I was there, I was trying.
And also there's another,
it's good later than never. So
it's better later than ever, but there's also another benefit of being able to interface with a leader of a company. And I lived this in my own experience, and Andrei lived this also. If in any company, if you go and you have to do some work with, I don't know, whoever in the company, if the CEO, CTO, or any person in authority and leadership in that company makes the introduction and says, hey, Bogdan has something for us, or Andrei has something for us, that makes things so much faster. Yeah. So much faster to suddenly
you get to a yes or no really fast.
You cut right through all the crap and go straight to the desired result.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you have leadership buy-in, that's then a very good thing, because then everybody's like, yeah, sure, this is awesome. Let's do it, and then it gets bam, 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 and then at the end of the day, we have everybody's happy, or at least have some result. That's definitely agree. So this is, but yeah,
that's why you need to have leadership inside the company and be present and discuss.
You have to deal with how things are going, and I think it's kind of my way of to try the best out of it, and kind of play my role and see what comes out of it, and kind of also make sure that we kind of together reach the common goal. So make the best out of it, because you cannot change other people. You have to adapt to how they are and what's the best to kind of reach the common goal.
Yeah. And speaking about adapting and thinking about the way you focus your leadership, what is your leadership philosophy?
So this is an interesting question, and I also thinking about this every few months about how I'm doing there, because I think it's very important to understand what goes on and how you kind of lead your people. And I think for me, one of them, so it has definitely changed a lot the last couple of years from starting out and to now. So starting out was more like I was not really leading at the beginning. It was more like working together with 2-3 peers. And as we grew and grew and grew more, it was more directive, saying, "Hey guys, do this, let's do this." More like just saying, giving let's say orders a little bit. But I noticed that when growing bigger, this is not the way to go. And nowadays, I see myself more as a kind of servant leader. So nowadays, it's where people kind of, our engineers, our salespeople, our marketing people, they have more experience in what they do than I have. So I cannot say, hey, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. Just kind of listen and help them the best way possible to get their stuff done and to help the company goals. So this has been a real transformation for me, and I'm still, let's say, in it to make sure this kind of it goes through all the layers and in every conversation. But I think this is the key goal, because nowadays we hire people that have very experienced, they know what they're doing. They have done this for multiple years, sometimes more than 10 years. They are have way more experience. So my job is kind of to give them the context of our company, of our technology, to make sure they understand where we want to go. And then they do their best with their skills to bring us forward. And just for them to manage or to lead them in the right way. So.
And that's a really good insight about servant leadership, because usually here be a servant leader, but you don't also get the side like when you hire people, usually they have more experience than you would ever have in that domain. So that's why you just empower them and let them fly and do their thing because they know better. On the flip side, it's a little harder to do like. It's good still to do like servant leadership, but if you're growing them internally and they have no skills and trying them to acquire skills, then you need in a way to be a little more hands-on with them. So it's not like do servant leadership all the time. It depends on with what people you're working, what their career path has been, where they are now. So it's a little give and take. And yeah, good insight.
I was gonna add on that.
And
I
definitely,
was gonna say.
Yeah, sorry.
Go on. No, please.
Yeah, I think what you just said is like, I think I think that one of the key things which I think I also have had a misconception about is that I lead the people as, let's say, I want to be led, or what my leadership style is, which I think that doesn't make any sense, because a leader, you have to have empathy towards the people and see how they need to be led. So if you have a junior person, there is no way you can just kind of say, yeah, let's do your thing, here's your goal, just run with it. You have to way more coaching style to give them more direction and so on, regarding a way more experienced person who like say, hey, leave me alone, just give me a target and I will deliver it for you.
Yeah.
This is one of the misconceptions I also kind of ran into a few years ago, but this is so important to understand. It's not that there is one style or one thing I always apply. It's always situational based, and also based on the person, of course.
Exactly. You have to tailor in your way. You as a leader have to tailor your leadership for each individual person you have in your organization, because they want different career paths, they want different stuff, they have different level of knowledge, different situations at home. So it's not clear cut, and that's you cannot be like like a machine, like the same stuff for everyone. Bam, bam, bam. No, it doesn't work. You're working with people. They're all different.
A funny story I heard about that. Two friends that launched businesses at different times in their life and different fields. He asked his friend, listen, I know you had a lot of success. What did you do to boost morale in your company and to help your people? And he said, like, you know what I did? I always had the best parties on Fridays, took the people out drinking, partying, and this boosted morale. People were working a lot. And this guy said, yeah, that sounds like a plan. Didn't ask questions, tried it in his company, and it flopped. Well, why did it flop? Well, the first guy only had very young employees. The second guy had young employees, had employees that were married, had employees with children. So you don't have like a clear-cut path for each and every business. Even in the same business, stuff that worked 5 years ago, if you have the same employees, will not work now.
No.
People grow.
Yeah, everybody grows, new stuff, and so on. This is interesting. You always have to adapt. This is also the fun part of building a company is to always adapt. It's never be the same, and it's never boring. So always
never boring as a leader.
Oh, boring! It's never boring.
No. And look, if it becomes boring, it means your people aren't growing. Something is really wrong.
It's stagnating.
Yeah. So no, this is. I think also this is so I'm curious by nature about things. I like to kind of structure things, find out how things work, and this is always interesting to kind of. I see always a business also as what next things we need to build for it, in it, around it, for customers to make the next level, to kind of you can have a bigger impact on our, let's say, on our employees, of course, on our customers, on our partners, and so on. This is, I think, the way to think and to learn, of course, along the journey. I think never stop learning. I think is as in every kind of, it doesn't matter where you work, what you do, is like never stop learning in our fast moving world is the key.
Yeah,
it is.
And that's one of the two ways you can actually grow a product. You hear it a lot in the world, in entrepreneur speaking, that first you need to localize a problem, find a problem, okay, and generate a solution, and then present that solution as a service or a product. But some of the best, absolute greatest services and products ever created, they didn't start like that. It were people that were curious. They wanted to do stuff. They did stuff. They had good leaders that said, listen, we have a budget, go wild. You invent something that you find interesting. Then afterwards, it's my job to find out how we monetize it. And that's how we got a lot of cool, that's how we got graphical interfaces and photocopiers from Xerox PARC, Palo Alto Research Center. Because that wasn't part of the initial research of creating the internet.
But I think what's interesting there is the one thing is, of course, to invent something, but the other thing is, of course, always look what the customer really needs. I think one of the things we also did early on in the journey is to build a product, but based on customers. And I think we should even have then look more towards all the customers, because if you build something you think is nice, that's one thing. But if you build something, actual customers pay for it, that's the real key.
It's a little dicey here, because I like what Ford said.
I was going to say
Ford said that if I would have gone to people, asked them what they wanted when it comes to transportation, they would say faster horses.
Faster horses.
They won't say like, give me a car. Sometimes you need people that are crazy enough to risk all their life savings, their reputation, everything on a crazy idea. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, well, nobody's going to know about you.
But I think to be smart about it. So
yes.
But I'm not sure. The Ford story is pretty famous, and kind of it makes sense. But I'm not sure if Ford really knew there was a benefit, a real benefit for building cars, right? Because if he sees like, hey, if we can transport whatever goods from A to B faster if we have cars and people will value this, he kind of understands what's going on. But if he just says like, let's build a car because this is super cool and sounds nice.
Well, he didn't invent the car. So this goes to my second finding. So as you know, the first internal combustion engine was by Otto von Diesel. So it was made in conjunction with Benz, the first internal combustion engine. And before that, we had steam-powered engines and electrical cars. Actually, the first cars they were electric. So Tesla is absolutely nothing new in the business. Just the battery is way more awesome today. So Ford, actually, he wasn't a trailblazer. Usually the first one that creates the industry, he bears the brunt of all the costs. And the second guy, if he has very good funding, he takes all the glory.
Yeah,
And that
Ford-
happens a lot.
In a lot of fields.
A lot of fields. Look at your favorite search engine. It wasn't the first.
yeah,
It wasn't the first, but because it built on the mistakes that were done by the first guys, it cut costs on the unnecessary stuff, invested only in the necessary stuff, and made so much money. Changed the
Yeah.
world.
Same thing also goes for McDonald's, right? So the brothers who built McDonald's, they kind of I'm not sure what the other guy's name is, who came in and kind of made the whole business to a
Yeah.
tremendous market.
But I found a story about McDonald's which is even more interesting. A year before, a guy went from New York, went to the restaurant on the West Coast to see it because he heard about it, saw the restaurant, convinced the brothers to sell him the franchise, went back to New York to his banking brother, tell him, I have these guys, I need, I don't know how much, $5,000 or something like that to buy the franchise for them. His brother said, who's going to buy burgers? And he never bought it. So, and then a year later, you have the whole story.
Yeah, with Croc.
Christmases and family get-togethers were really tough, I guess, between the brothers from then on.
5 years later, when they read stories about the West Coast miracle, revolutionizing the food industry in America, you idiot.
So there are
But
lots of
again-
stories like this.
Yeah, but again, coming back to kind of leadership or kind of personal development, I think even if you do this kind of let's say failures or let's say not so good decisions, I think it's important to come back from these and not to make yourself kind of go down for these, but saying, hey, yes, I made it and I made my decision, and that was the next step for me. So maybe it hasn't
Exactly. Don't let it get you down.
Yeah, so because this could be like a kind of a burnout case, or you say, "Whoa, I cannot do this." But just to reflect about what could you do better next time? Maybe it was the right decision for this guy, and just to say, "Hey, what is the next step? What else can we do from it? So what else can we do? Or what did I learn from this?"
Yeah,
And since we're talking about people
learning.
and improving themselves, like for aspiring leaders, what would be the top 3 leadership tips you would have for them?
Yeah, so I guess one thing we already covered pretty heavily is like learning and personal development. I think is the key. I think it's not only about kind of growing professionally, like having tools and techniques and stuff like this is the one part, yes. But I think the more interesting part is to grow as a person. I think this makes a lot of the character, the attributes, how you behave, how you think. How your mindset is. I think this is key to leadership and how you are perceived by others and how you want to be perceived, of course. I think this is something I like. If you have asked me like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would never, let's say, said this. But over the years, I have been to a lot of. So I think being an entrepreneur or as a leader is, I think, one of the fast paths towards personal growth, because either you grow or you go down. So there is no other way. It's my personal.
If not, your business collapses because you have to grow with it. So what did you do to grow personally?
So I read a lot. I like to listen to podcasts. I like to kind of go to seminars. Just also to talk with other inspiring persons, people. So also one of the reasons I came to you guys here on the show is I think it's so cool to share opinions, to share experiences and so on, to make sure you always learn something and you always kind of can help other people. And I have listened to a lot of podcasts who helped me, and maybe hopefully I can also help people with my experiences so far. So I think this is this totally is totally my DNA, and I also want to learn more, experience more. I think this year, I think seminars and all the in-person stuff, I think is the most valuable stuff, which cannot happen so much because of the COVID situation. But there's online a lot of possibilities too. So just take what you can get to.
So number 1 is develop yourself and work on yourself. 2 and 3.
Yeah. So I don't have a real let's say order. I think I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I think the other thing is we also mentioned already is you should always, if you want to leading people, you should always not be about yourself. It should be about the people you lead. They should be very clear about who these people are, what do they need from you as a leader. So how can you kind of give them the best support? This is very important to kind of switch around the equation and not saying, okay, what do I need from them? Yes, it's also important, but if you give them what they need, they can give you what you need. So this is kind of always this paying it forward towards your followers, your employees, whoever it is. I think this is a very important point that I learned also hard on my own.
I understand.
Yeah, and
Everybody learns. Usually, the best lessons that you get in life are the ones that you learn the hard way because they stick with you once you get them.
Yeah, sometimes people say we should read more books or to let's say avoid mistakes. But some mistakes, I think, I also learned I have to make my own. I didn't believe it's not the same feeling. It's just like you reading, yeah, makes sense, and then like 3 months later, oh fuck, I just did the same thing I read the book,
but you have the solution.
But you have the solution.
That's the advantage of reading. You know where to go look for the solution. You're not like, what do I do now? You're like you have like an action plan because of it.
And I was gonna add that you yourself and a lot of people mention learning and improving yourself and about different domains in your domain. To anybody listening, the first part, getting the information, that's just half of the battle concerned learning. The second part is actually doing stuff. Because if you just read a book and sit in bed and close your eyes and fantasize about the experiences that were outlined in that book and you get a great idea, that's well and good to make you fall asleep, but it will not have any impact on you. You have to act. Yeah, you have to go out and do stuff. When you do stuff, then is when you experience the realities of it.
Yeah, there's this saying which is very well known as knowledge is power, which actually is not true. Actually, execution and doing stuff, this is real power and real impact, because just knowing things doesn't really get you much.
I think like wisdom is the key, because wisdom is knowledge and action, because they go together. Somebody that has the knowledge and did it and the experience of it. That's so it's and usually sometimes it's not pleasant getting the wisdom part.
But it's necessary.
Yeah, it's the price you have to pay to grow.
It's like pulling teeth.
Yeah, to having big success means you have to have setbacks. There is no, I think I always believe in, like, say, things coming in cycles. So sometimes you are down, next thing you are up, and then only because you have this kind of balance or kind of two different things, the good things are possible. I think this is one of the basic principles of life. There is always a few things before it goes up. It always will go a little bit more down, and then you will hopefully reach new heights.
Well, setbacks are very important because it gives us a frame of reference. There was an episode, I think it was in a very old TV show, I forgot the name, The Twilight Zone. And it was about this gangster that at the beginning of the episode, he died. He didn't know he died. He went to what he thought was heaven. And it was a casino. And every time he rolled the dice, he won the big slots. And anything he wanted came true. And he was very excited at first. And then he got bored out of his mind. And then he found out he wasn't in heaven. He was in hell. There was no challenge to anything. Yeah. So everything, it was totally boring. He had no frame of reference for his success, no reason to feel good about anything.
Yeah.
So the ups and downs, so long as it looks like the stock market on a good year, it's up and down, but the trend is up. The trend is continuously upwards. That's great. Okay, it doesn't have to be straight up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I think it's always just looking back, saying, "Hey, where was I like 1 year ago of a company, and where I am now?" So, am I growing? Yes, great, awesome. Because nowadays in our it's kind of Instagram, Facebook world where everybody kind of compares to other people, to other things. It's not about that. It's more about what have you personally reached and where have you been like 1 year ago or 1 month ago, just to see the small steps and then just if you there's I think this book called the 1% improvement or something where when you improve 1% every day, that is awesome. There's like that is off the charts. That means you improve 365% every year.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's hard to do 1% a day.
Yeah.
It sounds a little, but the consistency of it and having 1% a day.
That story reminds me with the chess guy, the guy who invented the chess piece. He says the king was so happy he wanted to reward him. So what do you want? I want you to give me on the 1 grain of wheat on the first board, 2 grains, and then multiply it. And it seemed reasonable. It's not.
Yeah.
So it's a huge growth. Huge
the
growth.
compounding
Something
effect.
to strive for. Yeah, compounding.
So as a last
speaking,
sorry.
Go on. No,
as a third thing, I think for advice, I think is also one important thing is to always have this kind of North Star or passion you have to kind of what drives you as a leader. I think this is very important. If you don't have this, otherwise all the other things don't make any sense. So having this one thing to say, yes, there is where I want to achieve, or there's something that's even greater than yourself. It should not be about the leader itself. It should be about the passion, the thing which is like driving everything.
Well, Christian, I would agree with you about the North Star path, but we have listeners in Australia and South Africa and South America, and I think it's not fair for them to give them a North Star reference. But they get the idea. Have like a pointer that sets your path, guides your path.
One thing that I have like with passion is everybody expects it to be something big, something earth-changing. They don't realize you can have like smaller passions that you can use as guidance. It doesn't have to be like I'm gonna cure a disease off the face of the earth to say like this is what you can have smaller passions that you can do like sometimes you have like for hobbies. Something like that. It's not like when you do a hobby, I'm going doing this because it's going to change the world.
Earth-changing.
No, you just like it and enjoy it a lot. And if you can find something that you have the same level of passion as a hobby and you get paid, so it's not a hobby, even better.
Yes.
By the way, that's a great question to have to your when you interview future employees. You ask them a lot of stuff, and then closer to the end, you ask them what are their hobbies, because what people do in their free time on their own dime with their own money shows what kind of person they really are.
Yeah. So when we hire programmers or let's say engineers, if they don't say, "Hey, we program," or "I have built this game," or whatever, they are, let's say, on a not on a good path for getting hired here. So because I'm a computer scientist. I have studied computer science and now don't really program anymore since a couple of years. But I always had the passion when I program stuff in my own time or do a small thing here. And if somebody doesn't do that, it's actually not really a good fit, I think, for programming or doing any engineering job.
Yeah, that's true. Usually engineers, the good ones, also have like side projects, something that they're fiddling with, doing on their time, building something.
Yeah, or even practices. There's another guy that didn't fit the picture. He was a great programmer, but his biggest hobby was fishing. And I found that weird. But then I found out anytime he was fishing, while the fish was looking for the bait, he was thinking about, So for him, it was programming in a nicer environment. Yeah. That's what it was. That's everything it was. No distractions, no kids, dogs, neighbors, cars, just, enjoy the scenery.
Usually, if you get people that have passion, some hobby, something, maybe it's not related to what they're doing at work. They're more interesting as colleagues, and they bring that knowledge into what they're doing at work, and it enriches it. Because you can take metaphors or situations, and that can be applied in different domains, and give you like new insights of how to approach a problem situation.
It's
So
usually
it always helps. They have more value, people that have hobbies.
yeah. It's usually when a field stagnates, it's the perfect time for people that worked in other domains to do a career switch into that field. And my best example is the guy. He was a chronographer, so he made watches, and he solved the biggest navigation problem for ships in 1760. He proposed that you should use a very good and very well-timed watch to be able to navigate longitude, because that was a huge problem. And all the guys that worked in sailing, they were astronomers. They didn't know anything about
He had
clocks.
lots of problems with
Oh, he
him.
had a lot of problems, but it goes to show a field, once it grows to a certain level, you need fresh perspective, fresh pain. The way that's how I like to say it, fresh pain from other fields.
Yeah, definitely. Totally. So I totally agree with that.
And Christian, since you said you worked a lot on yourself and read a lot, what is the book that had the most profound impact on you?
Yeah. So I think I brought 3 books. So
Okay.
Awesome.
yeah. So one of I think most of my own life, I think the book which I read the most times is from Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist. Just kind of,
Yes.
I think I read that one.
I also read it. It's good.
it's like it's a story. It's not like a technical book. It's a story, and I think
Oh yeah, I read that one.
it's a perfect book about mindset, trust in yourself, kind of follow your heart, do this what you love, and so on. And this is kind of always when I'm kind of having a downtime or something, or like not a setback, I kind of catch myself putting it on Audible or reading it again, because it always gives me kind of this trust in life and everything, that everything will work out at the end if you kind of follow your own designs, that everything you think makes sense for you and feels good for yourself. So I think this is like gives me back despite being like a kind of a fictional novel, I think it gives me this grounding, this believing in that life always, or the universe always works out. If you are doing stuff, if you believe in yourself, stuff will work out at the end. So this is a great book to read. On a leadership end, I really like Simon Sinek, Start With Why. So I think this is interesting. So when I heard the concept the first time with this golden circle, saying most of the people communicate the what they do, but they don't communicate the why they're doing stuff. I was confused at the beginning, but then the examples he does, and also thinking about things, is really interesting, and totally new way of thinking about business, which brings a new perspective in about why people are doing things. Again, what is the passion behind it? What is the reasoning behind it? And he has
the
done
motivation.
He has done this in a great way in his talks on YouTube and so on, but also the books from Simon Sinek are really great. I really love them. And as a last one, I think this is also well known, is from Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
Classic.
Classic. So most people think the title suggests something about growing rich in terms of money. Yes, it's part of it. But I think the big part of it. Yeah, the big part of it, I think, is just to imagine or be sure you know what you want, and then at the end how you get it. I think this is basically imagining, or let's say creating anything in your life that you want to really have. And I think he has, in the 1940s, I think this book was written. So he's really has a lot of wisdom, a lot of, let's say, also practical tips on how kind of you experience and make the best out of your life. And this is, I think, a great inspiration for me. I also listened to a couple of times to reread stuff or listen on Audible to kind of remind myself what mindset and what kind of beliefs are necessary to kind of get where you want to be.
Yeah, and I think he was the guy basically. He used to do so much visualization, like from a bridge when he was younger, that he would be like in a Rolls Royce. But because he was looking at the water, it was when he actually arrived at the point he had to put the Rolls Royce in the ditch in some way to have it positions perfectly like it was in his visualization.
His vision, rather than on the
so
bridge.
hanging off the bridge a little and all this, just to make it true. So it's like I made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So it's great stuff. So yeah, it's cool also to see all the wisdom in books is available, and then just you can use this. This is like really, really awesome. People have thought about a lot of things, and everybody can use this and kind of extract what everybody needs, and then it just kind of applies it to the real world. It's really always, it's interesting to see for anything. Let's say I came up with, let's say, a problem or something. There has been a solution. You just need to find the solution because somebody has thought about it. And I have a pretty big kind of bookshelf. And normally when I have a lot of books I already read, and a lot of books that are new I haven't read. And normally when I kind of
I know the problem.
I'm confused about things, and sometimes I find a book and like, what is this? I never read this. I kind of open it and it gives me exactly what I just need. So this is
I love those coincidences. I don't know how they work, but they happen.
I'm happy they happen.
Yes.
Yeah, it's usually I had this discussion with another engineer. He said like I failed him at the interview, and I said why? Well, he didn't know about X and Y, and I told him, listen, that specific knowledge, he doesn't need to know that on the fly. All he needs to know is that A, it exists, and 2, where to look for it. If he knows those 2 things, why do you care about the specific knowledge?
Yeah.
That's what engineers are. They
search engines.
That's why we have search engines. Yeah. The important part is to be able to recognize the correct answer. That's it. That's all of it.
Yeah.
Which is hard, by the way. It's very hard.
Just to use, you don't have to have everything. You can't. So nobody can have everything in his head. So it's always about how to look, how you have your kind of anchors of how to do things. So this is the experience I think people need to make sure if there is a problem looks like this. Okay, I've seen this problem. I ask maybe person B, or I look at this book. Yes. But to have all the solutions in the head, I think it's not possible.
It's impossible.
Impossible.
And it was like in the medieval times, the standard for intelligence was, do you know the whole Bible? Can you recite it by memory? And that meant that you were intelligent. But nowadays, you have all the information at your fingertips. Now, you're intelligent if you can recognize the solution to your problem and find it through the myriads of false positives and everything that you have out there.
Yeah. It's actually being able to draw your own conclusions from incomplete data sets.
Connecting the dots. So in our world, there's so much information, so much stuff. Nobody knows everything, and just to make the best decisions out of the data you have. So.
Yeah, because sometimes other people want to make decisions for you. My favorite article, I won't name the city. There were 2 articles from a very famous European city. The first article in 2014, it was bragging about the public source of water, tap water, how great it is. Okay. And it listed the whole plethora of reasons and big scientists and blah, blah, blah. And 4 months later, they wanted to talk about the increased use of drugs in the city, and to make a point, they proved that you can find trace amounts of cocaine and Vicodin in the tap water. Now, if you can find trace amounts of cocaine and Vicodin in the tap water, what does that tell you about the first article about how great the tap water is?
Yeah.
But not a lot of people draw the conclusion between both of them. Put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Interesting. Yes. It's always so making the the connecting the dots. I think this is the key skill to make sure to build up your own kind of picture of this complex world, which is simple and is easy to kind of follow. This is, I think, one of the key things. Our world is getting more and more complex, and to make things easier to make it actionable, also for the team, for the people in the company or that follow you, to make sure they have it's easy for them, and it's easy to kind of know what's going on, where to go, what direction the company, the whatever community or tribe is heading towards.
The why.
You see, tribe. He hit the nail on the head, because that's what it is. Not quite a family, but not quite a bunch of strangers. So close-knit community. Yeah, and definitely. Christian, if people want to find out more about you, where should they go look?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter. So I think you guys can put the ones in the show notes, so people can just follow the links. I think this is the best places to reach me. If anybody has questions, happy to just reach out via LinkedIn or Twitter.
And remember to mention to Christian that, hey, I heard your episode. How are you? This way it's much friendlier than, jumping out of hello. So it gives you a common point.
And if you want to learn more about what we're doing with IoT and HiveMQ, you can always go to www.hivemq.com, HiveMQ like HIVEMQ.com. So that is, you can check this out if anybody's interested, and happy to ask questions if you have, to just write me on these platforms.
Yeah, so if you're interested in working in anything related with the Internet of Things, rather than
or you have a plant, or working for a big plant and you want it more technology,
you want to upgrade it, I highly recommend you reach out to Christian. It will be more productive for the both of you rather than going at it separately.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Great. Bye. Thank you, guys.
That was today's episode. Tune in daily. Rate, like, subscribe, and share, please. Oh, you can find further info and materials in the show notes on techyleadership.com, including links to the guest book recommendations.